If your manhood has stopped working the way it used to, if your mornings are quiet, your confidence slipping, and you're tired of pretending it doesn't bother you, then listen closely, because what I'm about to share may surprise you, even shock you. You see, after studying the biology of thousands of men over the age of 60, I've discovered that the single most overlooked cause of weak erections is not low testosterone. It's poor blood flow. And the fix, it's not a blue pill. It's not an expensive device. It's not even a supplement. In fact, it's a simple vegetable that you can eat every morning. And within days, your circulation, your energy, and your manhood can begin to return. My name is Dr. William Lee. I'm a physician, scientist, and the author of research-backed books on how food heals the body at the cellular level. For decades, I've dedicated my work to understanding how what we eat directly controls our blood vessels, our immunity, and our vitality. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through a powerful natural solution backed by rigorous science, trusted by real patients, and easily available in every grocery store. Because when you start your morning with this one food, everything changes. Blood pressure stabilizes, nitric oxide rises, oxygen flows exactly where it's needed, including down there. Most men don't know this. That's why I urge you to stay with me until the very end. I'll explain exactly how it works, how to use it, and why so many men see results in as little as 7 days. Before we dive into the full method, take a second to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss another evidence-based tip that helps you reclaim your strength, energy, and confidence. And if this message speaks to you, just type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 so I know how to serve you better. Let's begin. 1. The forgotten reason erections get weaker after 60. I want to begin with something most men never hear. Not from their doctor, not from their friends, and certainly not from TV commercials. And yet, it's one of the most critical biological truths I've uncovered in decades of vascular research. Erections don't just disappear after 60 because you're getting older. That's the myth. The real reason your blood simply isn't moving the way it used to? I've spoken with countless men, good men, strong men, men who've built careers, raised families, and carried themselves with quiet dignity their whole lives. And they look me in the eye and say, "Dr. Lai, I think I'm just past my prime." And I look right back and tell them, no, you're not. Your prime is still in you. It's your circulation that's been neglected, not your manhood. Here's the science. Your ability to get and maintain an erection depends entirely on one key biological system, blood flow. More specifically, the surge of oxygen-rich blood that must rush into the sponge-like erectile tissue of your penis. And that surge is powered by a molecule your body produces naturally, something called nitric oxide. When you were younger, your nitric oxide levels were robust. That's why everything worked quickly, efficiently, almost effortlessly. But after 60, nitric oxide production can drop by more than 70%. Your arteries begin to stiffen. The endothelium, the thin inner lining of your blood vessels, becomes less responsive, less elastic, less capable of signaling that critical expansion of blood flow. The result, that powerful surge of blood that once filled your penis is now more of a trickle. You are not broken. Your body's vascular system is simply crying out for the right biological support. And here's what I want every man watching this to truly understand. This change doesn't just affect your performance in the bedroom. It affects your confidence, your sense of masculine identity, and even your emotional closeness with your partner. The worst part is that most men are never told this is fixable, but it is. And in a far more natural, sustainable, and scientifically grounded way than you might think. Because, believe it or not, there's a simple vegetable, one you can eat every morning that helps your body rebuild nitric oxide and restart the engine that drives your erections, energy, and circulation. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what that vegetable is and why, from a vascular biology standpoint, it may be more powerful than most pills on the market. 2, the one vegetable that rebuilds circulation in older men. When I first began investigating the circulatory power of this vegetable, I'll admit my scientist's instinct made me approach it with measured skepticism, not because I doubted the role of food in cardiovascular health. I've spent my entire career proving exactly that, but because the simplicity of it seemed almost too elegant. Could something so ordinary, so inexpensive, really make a measurable difference in how blood flows to the most vital regions of a man's body? Then I reviewed the data, and the data was undeniable. I began incorporating this knowledge into my work, with patients, men in their late 60s, 70s, even early 80s, and they started coming back after just a few weeks with something I hadn't seen before: restored confidence. One man told me, "Dr. Lee, I woke up firm again for the first time in over a year." Another said, "I feel ready again the way I did years ago." And all they had done was add one food to their morning routine. The vegetable I'm talking about is beetroot. Yes, beets, the deep crimson root that gets pushed aside on dinner plates or forgotten at the salad bar. But hidden inside that humble vegetable is a compound your aging vascular system desperately needs: dietary nitrate. When you eat beets, your body converts those nitrates through a precise biological pathway into nitric oxide, the very same molecule that signals your arterial walls to relax, dilate, and allow blood to flow freely through your vascular system. What's scientifically remarkable is how targeted this effect can be. Increased blood flow doesn't just benefit your heart or your brain. It improves perfusion to your pelvic region, including the corpora cavernosa, the erectile tissue that fills with blood during arousal. For older men, this is everything. You're not just improving your capacity for erection, you're feeding the entire vascular system that underlies vitality, endurance, and self-confidence. And let me share something that brought this home for me personally. I worked alongside a gentleman I'll call Charles. He was 71, a retired engineer, precise in his thinking, and deeply private about his struggles. He hadn't had a full erection in over a year. He was beginning to lose hope. We made one simple strategic change. Each morning, before anything else, he drank 6 ounces of fresh beet juice. That was it. No medications added, no invasive procedures. By week 2, he called me. There was a catch in his voice, not distress, but something close to disbelief. He said, "Dr. Lee, I feel like myself again." That call confirmed what the research had already told me. This wasn't just theory. It was real, measurable, reproducible change. Now let's look at exactly what happens inside your body when you eat beets, because understanding the mechanism is what turns a good habit into a non-negotiable one. 3. What happens in your body when you eat beets? How can something as simple as a beet actually restore the circulatory power you had when you were younger? I asked that same question as a scientist. And once you understand the biological cascade that beets set in motion, the answer becomes clear and remarkable. Here's what happens when you eat beets. You're not just consuming fiber or antioxidants. You're delivering a concentrated source of dietary nitrates directly into your system. Those nitrates are the raw biochemical material your body uses to produce nitric oxide, the master signaling molecule of your vascular system. Nitric oxide tells your blood vessels to relax. It says to your arterial walls, expand, open, let the blood flow. That is the precise biological signal your body has been missing. The process begins in your mouth. As you chew, bacteria on the surface of your tongue begin converting dietary nitrates into nitrites. This is why the microbiome of the oral cavity matters more than most people realize. As you swallow, your stomach acid and bloodstream continue the conversion, ultimately producing nitric oxide that enters circulation within minutes. The downstream effects are measurable and significant. Blood vessels dilate, peripheral circulation improves, oxygen delivery to tissues throughout your body, including your lower body and pelvic region, increases. And over time, with daily consistency, men begin to feel the difference not just in the bedroom, but in their overall energy, their mental sharpness, even their mood. I've had men tell me, "Dr. Lee, I thought I was done. I thought the best part of life was behind me." But after 2 weeks of morning beet juice, they were reporting back with something I can only describe as a biological renaissance: more energy, sharper focus, and yes, more responsiveness in intimate moments. This matters far beyond the physical act. It's about identity. It's about waking up in the morning and knowing your body is still capable of responding, that it's still yours. And here's something that deserves its own moment. Beets don't just produce nitric oxide. They actively protect the endothelium, the lining of your blood vessels, from oxidative damage. They reduce systemic inflammation. They contribute to lowering blood pressure over time. You're not just patching one problem, you're reinforcing the entire cardiovascular foundation that every aspect of male health depends upon. But all of this requires the right approach because timing, preparation, and even what you pair with beets can meaningfully amplify or diminish your results. Let me walk you through exactly how to do this, right? 4. Real results from real men over 60. Science is most powerful when it stops being abstract and starts being human. And I can tell you honestly, some of the most rewarding moments in my career have come not from published studies, but from the quiet phone calls I receive from men who say simply, "Dr. Lai, it's working." Let me tell you about Mr. Anderson. He was 67 when he first came to me. A retired teacher, soft-spoken, proud, but carrying something heavy beneath the surface. He told me he hadn't had a full natural erection in over 8 months. No morning firmness, no complete arousal response. It was beginning to strain his marriage, and more painfully, it was rewriting how he saw himself as a man. He said, "I feel like my body is betraying me, and I don't know how to fight back." We talked about the biology of blood flow, the role of nitric oxide, and the power of dietary intervention. I suggested something that surprised him with its simplicity. I asked him to begin each morning with half a cup of fresh beet juice. No prescriptions, no pressure, just a quiet, daily commitment to his own biology. 2 weeks later, he called my office. His voice was different, lighter, almost disbelieving. He said, "I woke up this morning, and there it was. Not weak, not partial, solid, and it happened naturally without anything extra." I could hear the pride returning, the sense of wholeness. It wasn't just about performance, it was about a man reclaiming his sense of self. Mr. Anderson's story is not a statistical outlier. I've witnessed this transformation in plumbers, veterans, accountants, pastors, men of every background who had quietly accepted decline as inevitable, only to discover that their bodies were still capable of remarkable recovery when given the right biological support. What I want every man watching this to hear is this: you are not beyond help. Your body has not given up on you. It is waiting for the right signal. And when that signal comes through something as accessible as a glass of beet juice every morning, it is a testament to just how intelligent, adaptable, and resilient the male body truly is. 5. When and how to eat beets. For maximum circulation in my years of research and clinical application, I've learned one thing with certainty. The how and the when matter as much as the what. You can have the right nutrient, the right intention, and still underperform biologically if you're not strategic about delivery. This is especially true with beets. Let me make this simple because the most powerful health habits are always the ones you can sustain. Morning is the optimal window. Here's why. In the early hours of the day, testosterone levels are at their daily peak. Your blood vessels are primed for activity. Your body's absorption efficiency is heightened. Consuming nitric foods like beets on an empty stomach before your first full meal allows your gut and oral microbiome to convert those nitrates into nitric oxide with maximum efficiency. I've had men try beets later in the day after a full breakfast, and the difference in their reported response is significant. The morning window matters. Here is my practical recommendation. Begin with half a cup of roasted beet slices, or blend one small raw beet into a morning smoothie with a small amount of water or citrus juice. If you prefer convenience, a high-quality cold-rest beetroot powder mixed into warm water works remarkably well and is just as bioavailable. You don't need a large quantity. What you need is daily consistency, consumed before your first substantial meal. One detail that my patients always find surprising: do not brush your teeth with antibacterial toothpaste immediately before or after consuming beets. The beneficial bacteria on your tongue, the ones that begin that critical nitrate to nitrite conversion, are disrupted by strong antimicrobial agents. This small detail is the difference between a good habit and a great one. These are the kinds of precision adjustments that separate surface-level health advice from true biological optimization. And when you stack the right food with the right timing and the right oral conditions, the results are not subtle. They are transformative. 6. What not to eat in the morning if you want better erections in medicine. We spend a great deal of time telling people what to add, but in my experience, knowing what to remove is equally, sometimes more important. I've had patients come to me saying, "Dr. Lee, I'm drinking the beet juice every morning, but I'm not seeing much change." And when we analyzed their full morning routine, the answer became clear. Their breakfast habits were quietly working against them. Foods they believed were harmless or even healthy were constricting their arteries, generating systemic inflammation, and blunting the very nitric oxide response we were trying to build. Let me give you the clearest examples. Processed breakfast meats, bacon, sausage, cured ham are loaded with sodium and chemical preservatives that directly constrict blood vessels and impair circulation to your pelvic region. These are not neutral foods for a man trying to restore vascular health. Refined carbohydrates, white toast, pastries, commercial cereals spike blood glucose and trigger insulin responses that disrupt hormonal balance, including testosterone. They create the exact metabolic conditions that suppress the biological systems you're trying to reactivate. And excessive caffeine on an empty stomach elevates cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, which causes arterial constriction and makes natural arousal harder to achieve. I'm not prescribing a perfect diet overnight, but if you are serious about giving your body a genuine opportunity to heal, your first hour of the day needs to be working with your biology, not against it. Instead of processed meats, reach for a boiled egg, a small handful of walnuts, or a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, all of which support vascular health. Instead of refined carbs, try half an avocado on whole grain bread. These foods pair synergistically with beets. They provide the healthy fats, antioxidants, and micronutrients that protect your endothelium and support hormonal balance. When you make this shift, removing what clogs and inflames, replacing it with what nourishes and protects, your body responds with precision. Blood flow returns, warmth and responsiveness return. And for many men, what follows is more than a physical change. It is the return of something that felt lost, the quiet confidence of a man in command of his own body. 7. Why morning matters more than you think? I have observed something consistent across the men I've worked with, something that goes beyond lab values and vascular measurements. The men who commit to a disciplined morning health habit don't just improve their biology, they transform their relationship with themselves. And that transformation begins with understanding why the morning window is biologically non-negotiable for male health. Testosterone levels in men peak in the early morning hours, typically between 6 and 8 low. This is not coincidental. Your body is primed during those hours for metabolic activity, cellular repair, and vascular responsiveness. When you consume nitric foods like beets during this window on an empty stomach, your conversion of nitrates to nitric oxide is measurably more efficient than at any other time of day. Your blood pressure also tends to run slightly higher in the morning, a phenomenon called the morning surge. Counterintuitively, this is an opportunity. When you support your vascular system with the right nutrients during the surge, you are helping your arteries open and accommodate healthy blood flow rather than allowing stiffness and constriction to define your morning baseline. But beyond the biology, there is something profoundly psychological at work here. When a man chooses to begin his day with an intentional act of self-investment, choosing beet juice over a processed breakfast, choosing movement over passivity, he sends a message to his own nervous system. I am worth fighting for. I worked with one patient, a 72-year-old former Marine, who summed it up better than I ever could. He told me, Dr. Lee, I don't want a shortcut. I want a mission. I want a reason to get up and fight for my body again. We started with something modest, a glass of beet juice, a 10-minute walk, a cleaner breakfast. 3 weeks later, he wasn't just reporting better circulation. He was sleeping more deeply, engaging more fully with his wife, and carrying himself differently. He had reclaimed something intangible but essential. That is what a morning ritual can do. It does not merely heal the body, it anchors the man. 8. What to expect? The timeline for results. One of the most important conversations I have with men when I recommend a dietary intervention like beet juice is managing expectations. Not to lower them, but to frame them accurately. Because when a man has been struggling for months or years with declining sexual function, patience does not come easily. So let me give you an honest science-based timeline. In the first 2 to 3 days, most men don't notice significant changes in sexual performance, but they do notice something. A slight increase in energy, better oxygen delivery, a sense of breathing more easily. Some men describe a subtle warmth in their extremities, their hands and feet feeling less cold. That is not placebo. That is peripheral vasodilation beginning to occur. By day 4 or 5, the nitric oxide buildup is accumulating. Blood vessels are responding with greater elasticity. Some men begin to notice what I call the baseline return, a growing sense that their body is coming back online. Not dramatic, but real. Then comes day 7. In my experience, this is frequently when the first significant milestone occurs. Several of my patients have reported waking with their first spontaneous morning erection in months. No medication, no artificial stimulation, just the natural result of restored blood flow reaching exactly where it needs to go. And the emotional weight of that moment for a man who had stopped expecting it is difficult to overstate. By the 2-week mark, the changes become more consistent and measurable. Stronger arousal responses, more sustained energy throughout the day. In men with elevated blood pressure, meaningful reductions begin to appear in their morning readings. At 30 days, with daily consistency, you are no longer working on a change. You have built a foundation, a new biological baseline. I always tell my patients, the key is not perfection, it is consistency. You are not forcing your body into something foreign. You are providing your body with what it was always designed to need. And when you do that day after day, the body does exactly what it was built to do. It heals. 9. The morning ritual that reclaims masculinity. There is something I've come to believe deeply. Not just as a scientist, but as a physician who has sat across from hundreds of men carrying a weight they rarely speak aloud. The way a man begins his morning is a declaration of how he sees himself. And for too many men over 60, the morning has become silent, routine, a collection of quiet compromises. They wake up, reach for the coffee, and push through the day without ever asking what their body might still be capable of. What I've observed in the men who commit to a daily morning ritual centered around nourishing their vascular health is something I can only describe as a reclamation. When a man chooses consciously and deliberately to begin his day by investing in his body, something shifts not just in his arteries, though that too, but in his identity, in how he carries himself, in how he shows up for the people he loves. I worked with a 74-year-old man who had spent several years in what he described as quiet retreat. After losing his wife, he had slowly disengaged from socializing, from physical activity, from caring about his own health. He told me his body had become something he simply inhabited, not something he owned. He committed to one small act, beet juice at sunrise, followed by a brief walk and 10 minutes of intentional stillness, breathing, thinking, being present. 3 weeks later, he came to my office with a different posture, not dramatic, just more upright, more present. He said, "Dr. Lee, I feel like I've woken up, not just my body, something deeper." That is what I want every man watching this to hear. This is not merely a conversation about erections or blood pressure or nitric oxide. It is a conversation about identity, about refusing to accept a diminished version of yourself simply because time has passed. Your body is still capable. Your biology still responds. And when you begin your morning with intention, with the deliberate, disciplined choice to nourish your vascular system, you are not just improving your circulation, you are reclaiming the full authority of your manhood. 10. A final word from Dr. William Lee. If you are still watching, I want to speak to you directly, not just as a scientist, not just as a physician, but as someone who has spent decades studying what the human body is genuinely capable of when we stop working against it and start working with it. I have sat with hundreds of men who arrived at my door carrying something heavy shame they couldn't name, frustration they refused to voice, and a quiet resignation that whispered, "This is just aging. There's nothing to be done." I am here to tell you with the full weight of the science behind me that resignation is wrong. Your body is not done with you. It is not working against you. It is waiting patiently, powerfully, for the right biological signals to reactivate the systems that time and neglect have allowed to go quiet. Beets are not a gimmick. The nitric oxide pathway is not a marketing invention. It is one of the most well-documented, peer-reviewed mechanisms in vascular biology. And the fact that a simple, affordable natural food can engage that pathway and produce measurable results in real men over 60 is not just encouraging. It is genuinely remarkable. I don't share these stories to inspire false hope. I share them because I have witnessed them firsthand, repeatedly across men of different backgrounds, different health histories, and different starting points. And the common thread is always the same. When a man gives his body what it needs with consistency and intention, his body responds. So here's what I want to leave you with. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until things get worse before they get better. You have the knowledge now. You have a clear, science-backed, practical starting point. Use it. Start tomorrow morning. A small beat, a glass of juice, a commitment to showing up for yourself. Because here is what I know about the male body. It is built for strength, it is built for resilience, and it is built for recovery at 60, at 70, at 80, and beyond. The biology does not expire. It simply needs to be re-engaged. By now you have seen the full picture. You know that the primary driver of weakening erections after 60 is vascular, not hormonal. You understand that dietary nitrates in beetroot directly stimulate nitric oxide production, the key signaling molecule behind healthy, sustained blood flow. You've seen what this looks like in the biology, and you've heard what it looks like in the lives of real men. You know how to time it, how to prepare it, and what to eliminate from your mornings to give your body its best chance. You understand that this is not about a single food. It is about building a morning ritual that reclaims your biology and with it your identity. No matter how many years have passed, no matter how long it has been since your body felt like it truly belonged to you, that version of you, capable, confident, fully alive, is not gone. It has simply been waiting for the right signal. Give it that signal every morning without exception. You are not done. You are not past your prime. You are right now at the beginning of what your biology, properly supported, is still capable of producing. Beats are just the beginning. Let this be the first morning of the rest of your life. If this video gave you clarity, renewed your hope, or showed you something about your body that you didn't know before, I'd ask one simple thing. Share it with a friend, a brother, a colleague. Someone who might need to hear that decline is not destiny. Thank you for giving this your time and attention. Taking your health seriously is not weakness. It is the most disciplined, most masculine thing a man can do. This is Dr. William Lee. I'll see you in the next one.